Arsenal have gone to Turf Moor and come away with 3 valuable points, beating a tough Burnley side by 2-0. We are going to look back at the game and all of the talking points. We're then going to preview our Champions League game on Tuesday night as we go away to Slavia Prague. What kind of changes will we expect from Mikel, and what result do we think we can achieve? Joining us is Dan George from the BBC to discuss all of these points and more on episode 26 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome to episode 26 of Red Lines Half Spaces. Another win, another weekend has gone. We're still winning, beating Burnley by 2-0. Hard-fought victory, I would say, in the second half, but we're going to dive deep into it. But here's another hard-fought warrior that we always love to have on our show. Joe, how was that? That wasn't that great, but I still managed to.
You've been on a high recently, with these intros, and they've been going well. I feel like that one was a bit of a reality check for you. So it's back to the drawing board, bit more work. You got a bit complacent. You had a good.
I've been doing slides. I'll tell you why. I've been doing slides, and I haven't got the. I haven't had the time to process any of this.
Your mind has been elsewhere, so we'll let you off, mate. But how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. As I was telling both of you off air, and we'll introduce our guest in a second. I was looking after my daughter the whole weekend, so it was just a case of daddy, asking for everything. But yeah, it's always good to hang out with my little one. I love her, and she's back at school. You didn't hear that, but yeah. How have you been, Joe?
Very good, mate. Similar to you, had a nice day Saturday, pretty chilled, and then obviously Arsenal make the weekend flow beautifully once again, and then Sunday, nice little family day. So. Nice chilled weekend, mate. It's been a good one after a pretty hectic week last week of still chasing all this stuff with the house move. But that will commence once we're finished this episode, and back to a stressful week ahead, I'm sure.
I hope we can help you relax a little bit by talking about Arsenal. Joining us, as you can see, if you're watching the video, is the amazing Dan George from the BBC. Dan, welcome back. You are the first. Well, the second, Wayne did come on as a repeat, but he was in a co-host kind of vein. But you are the first repeat guest on the show. How you been, my friend?
Yeah, I've been really good, thanks. I was about to get really excited that I was the first person you've been invited back on twice. But I'm really good, thank you. Arsenal are absolutely flying at the moment. It's a great time to talk about things. Really excited to be here. Great to see you guys as well, and the channel and the podcast growing. So I couldn't say no when you asked me this morning if I wanted to come back on.
I know. I called you. I messaged you like about an hour and a half ago. So I'm very grateful to Dan for joining us on this one. It's always a pleasure to have you and your insights as well. So both of you, it's a good time, as you said, Dan, to be an Arsenal fan. Joe, I asked you this question, but Dan, how are you feeling at the moment as an Arsenal fan? I've asked this of Joe, obviously, but how are you feeling as an Arsenal fan? You've been through the era where very uncertain results week to week, and then obviously you don't know what kind of performance you're getting. It's more the case now that you've got an expectation of how Arsenal will perform. Very rock solid defense, and then it's more about our attacking trying to evolve. How are you feeling as an Arsenal fan right now? Because obviously the results are starting to bear out from the transfer policy from the summer, the work that Mikel's been doing for the last couple of years. It's a good time, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think you feel good naturally because of the kind of football Arsenal are playing, the kind of strength of the squad as well. It's the depth is crazy compared to anything we've ever had before at Arsenal. You look at the amount of injuries that there's already been, and the people that have been able to come in, and the level not drop off has been really reassuring. Although I guess for me personally, there is still a little edge of anxiety in terms of Arsenal are still getting quite a lot of injuries. So hoping that it's not something that can still come round and be a major kind of Achilles heel again this season. But yeah, the quality's been really good in terms of the guys that have come in. Eze's unbelievable player, so good to have him at Arsenal, and I think his quality is just so good. Although he wasn't directly involved in any of the goals on Saturday, his ability on the ball and just what he can bring is so good. I was at the Crystal Palace game at the Emirates last week, and to watch him score that goal and the way he's been playing since signing has been so good. And yeah, I think the squad's in a really good place. I'm excited still to see some of the other players come back in. Noni Madueke, when he is fit, will be really good to just see him rotated in and around a bit more. Martin Ødegaard as well, just someone that he looked like he was kind of back to his levels of the 22-23 season when he was at his best for Arsenal. And then he's obviously had the injuries, which has been a real disappointment. And I think that when those guys come back in and hopefully a kind of level of fitness can be maintained, I think it will be a brilliant kind of run that Arsenal will go on. And I think this is the start of it as well. And I genuinely believe when everyone's fit, this is the best squad in the Premier League at the moment. So, yeah, I think the squad's in a really good place. A slight bit of concern with Martin Zubamendi coming off against Burnley on Saturday. Hope that injury is nothing too kind of major, because he's been so good since coming in, and Christian Norgard has looked a little concerning in moments. But yeah, and I should also mention Kai Havertz whenever he does come back in again. He's going to be a bit of a game changer up front as well, I believe. But yeah, no, squad's in a really good place, I think, in terms of the numbers. I think the transfers over the summer were perfect in terms of what Arsenal needed. And yeah, just really excited to kind of see this run that the club can go on, and, you know, where it all kind of takes us come the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, it's an exciting time for Arsenal fans. But let's dive into the game at the weekend. People, I'm trying to do some slides. If please do feedback about them if you feel they're not working or anything like that. And apologies, this is the first time we're doing it, so let's see how we do. So, as you can see on the screen here, the technical bits work.
We never doubted you,
I know, I doubt myself sometimes. As you can see, last time out, Burnley 0, Arsenal 2. Turf Moor away. But before we go into the lineup, it's a really weird one to predict, because in the past, Burnley have been a bit of a poor side. They've typically looked like relegation candidates from the out. But I think this year, if you look at their home form, they've been undefeated at home before us. They are well drilled. Scott Parker's got them well drilled. And I think this, a lot of people rightly looked at this and thought this is going to be a tougher test, isn't it, Dan? What did you think about the match before this?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Burnley only conceded 16 goals in the Championship last season. Their side were, unbelievable. There was even a bet at one point, wasn't there, with James Trafford, that an American footballer would come out of retirement if he didn't concede any goals for the rest of the season or something like that. They were so good defensively, a joke. And I think they've actually had a fairly decent start to the Premier League this season. I think it's 3 wins they've had, and they look a really solid unit. And you could tell that in the first kind of 10 minutes of the game at Turf Moor. They were fairly solid, passing the ball around nicely. They've made a few decent signings. Someone like Kyle Walker's only going to benefit the squad in terms of the experience he's got. And Scott Parker's a coach that has plenty of experience, with Fulham bringing them to the Premier League, Bournemouth bringing them to the Premier League. When it comes to the Premier League, I think there's still a lot of questions as to if he's a Premier League level manager. But I think that he's getting better. He's understanding more as a coach. And I think Burnley are a solid side. With the kind of the poor form of those down the bottom this season, I think there's a real chance they could stay up if they are able to kind of find something, and the other guys, your Wolves, West Ham's, still stay as poor as they've been. I don't know if that's guaranteed. We'll wait and see. But I think it's wide open, the relegation race this season, which is quite refreshing, to be honest, because I think the last 2 kind of seasons the three that have come up have gone straight back down again, and no one wants to see that. I think it's the gap between each league, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is as big as it's ever been, and then the gap between the Championship and League One is also fairly big. So you want to see it as competitive across the board as you possibly can, and I do believe this year is so much better. Sunderland have been unbelievable. Some of the signings they've made have been top class. A special shout out, of course, to Granit Xhaka, and also Dan Ballard as well, former Arsenal player in the academy. He's been so good for them, and I'm just so good to see others doing well after leaving Arsenal. But Burnley are a solid side, and Arsenal had to work for those goals. And I think it was a really solid, really good and pleasing away win.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is always going to be a tough test. We knew, Saturday, 3:00, cold weather, Burnley, Turf Moor is a very intimidating stadium. Joe, let's look at the lineup as we've got on screen. If you're watching on the YouTube video, if you're not, then we're going to go through it anyways. But for Arsenal, back five of Raya in goal, Ricardo Calafiori, Gabriel, Saliba, and Yurian Timber. Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi in the middle. In midfield, we also had Leandro Trossard, Eberechi Eze, Bukayo Saka, Victor Gyökeres, the lone man up front. Joe, how did you feel about the lineup? I think we predicted this, didn't we? The only question mark was William Saliba, wasn't it? Because Mikel made it seem like he was going to be out for a while. So when the lineup came out and it was William Saliba, you're like, oh, okay. I'm okay with that, but I'm just like, how did that happen? Did the magic sponge work its magic way too well? What did you make of the lineup, Joe?
It's just Mikel Arteta doing Mikel Arteta things again, isn't it? Saying players, giving the impression someone's going to be out for 6 months and they're back in 6 minutes. He did it with Odegaard when he got injured, didn't he? For Norway, said he might make the Spurs game at the weekend and then was out for 6 months or whatever it was. So, always kind of take what Mikel Arteta says about injuries with a pinch of salt. But I think this 11, it appears that this is our current Premier League starting 11. It appears that this is the side that Arteta's consistently going with. Whether you like Trossard in there or not is up for debate. Whether you kind of would prefer MLS at left back, whatever it might be. This seems the side that Arteta has full confidence in at the moment, and this is the one that, to be fair, has been getting the results and playing really well. So that's the one that he's consistently putting out at the moment, which is all good because, like we said, consistency, the way we're playing at the moment, just keep rolling on. Rotation can come in a League Cup. The game in the week against Slavia Prague, I'd expect to see quite a bit of rotation. Maybe not as much as we saw against Brighton, but I'd still expect to see some changes in that one and rest some legs because obviously 3 away games in a week, doesn't matter who the opposition are, that Sunderland game is going to be difficult given the travel, given it's away from home, given that Sunderland are playing really well at the moment. So, yeah, I'd like to see some changes for that. But I think in terms of the Burnley game, it's the starting 11 I think we expect to see. And like I said, at the moment, that side are performing really well, and I've got no issues with that 11, mate. What about you? What do you think of it?
No, I was happy with it. I think our only change that we thought would happen would be Mosquera coming in for William Saliba, because obviously we thought he'd be injured. And I don't think Mosquera would have been a drop-off actually in this one, but I do expect Mosquera to maybe start the Slavia Prague game, for example. This is our Premier League team, as you said, Joe. This is the one that seems to be working. And again, if it's delivering results, why are you changing it? Dan, your thoughts on the lineup? Were you a bit surprised when Saliba started, given Mikel was pretty adamant that looked like it was going to be a while?
Yeah. Definitely an element of surprise, but I think I don't know. You can never predict these things, can you? I guess it was. I guess we'll know longer term if it is more of a serious injury, if he is completely rested for the Slavia Prague game. Yeah, I was a bit surprised. I think the main kind of intrigue with the lineup comes down the left-hand side, and Calafiori and Trossard are, I guess, the most kind of talked about kind of fixtures in the starting 11, because Miles Lewis-Skelly kind of rotated more with Calafiori last season. And to be honest, there wasn't kind of a consistent level of fitness in that position, especially left back. It was being chopped and changed so much. So for Calafiori to, I think he started the season really well, and to kind of be the main guy at left back, I also think is to have that kind of consistency is only going to benefit the side in terms of familiarity, and to have that same kind of name on the team sheet every week is just a good thing in my opinion. And I think Trossard as well. I think he had a good game against Burnley. And I don't know. I just think that I do think he is the right guy to play there at the moment. And I just want to see Martinelli come on and make the impact that he has been, making over the last few weeks. And I'm more than happy with that 11 at the moment as it is. I think that there's questions that will be had when Odegaard does come back in terms of where Eze fits in and who's the main kind of guy. But yeah, really happy with the lineup. I like Calafiori there at left back. And I like Trossard with the way he's playing at the moment. So, yeah, I do hope, though, that we can find a nice kind of balance in terms of still utilising Miles and still using Martinelli the way that we have been so far. Because I think especially Lewis Skelly as well, some of the runs he makes can really create goals. And we saw that in the Champions League. We saw that from both of them. That run Lewis Skelly made and then Martinelli the first time finish was so refreshing to see. And I think it's something we wanted to see Martinelli kind of do more often. But yeah, no, really happy with the lineup, really happy with the kind of the way the team's set up, and yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting thing, that Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ricardo Calafiori, both of them, when they've played, have not looked out of place at all.
No.
Alan Shearer actually highlighted on Match of the Day this weekend Ricardo Calafiori's positioning, what he does. Everyone thinks he's this kind of maverick, and he's got maverick tendencies. But when he gets in those positions, he is so good at
the finish against Fulham.
I know it was offside.
I know it was offside, but I wish he was onside, because that was an unbelievable strike.
I mean, the thing is even in this game, do you remember when he was at centre forward and it was that one that bobbled for the corner?
Yeah.
I think it wasn't that one. It was the other one where he took it down as a centre forward. He made that centre forward run, took it down, and it looked like he was going to have a shot, but he stopped. He stopped. The defender, was trying to make a tackle. He stopped it, and then he shot eventually. It was off target, but he's got such good tendencies in that attacking area. He's not like a regular fullback where he will bomb to the byline and cross it in. He's something else, isn't he? He I don't think I've ever seen a left back of that kind of quality in every third almost, where he can defend really well. Defensively, he's been absolutely sound, because obviously he's contributed to that undeniable defence. But Joe as well, when he moves through the thirds, the midfield into the attacking area, it's all very smooth, isn't it? He's just, I can't, we keep saying maverick, but I don't know what he is, honestly.
Well, we mentioned this on when we spoke about Calafiori. I think maybe on the last one we done.
Yeah.
We kind of said, didn't we, that if you'd never watched Arsenal before, if you'd never watched a game of football, and you just sat down and put it on, wherever Calafiori pops up on the pitch, you just assume that is his natural position, because he looks so comfortable wherever he turns up. Whether he's left wing, left back, centre midfield, centre forward, wherever he kind of appears on the pitch and gets the ball, he just looks so composed all the time. So, yeah, I think you could quite easily mistake him for whatever position he turns up in if you'd never seen him play before. But I thought that, seeing as you mentioned it, I thought that Alan Shearer analysis on Timber and Calafiori was actually really good. I've had my gripes with sort of the media over the last sort of few months or so, but it was nice to actually see some actual kind of analysis and insight, if you like, rather than just sort of clickbait nonsense that we've been getting recently. But no, he was brilliant again. I think both the fullbacks were excellent again. And yeah, for me, I think in the week, I know we're not touching on that yet, but I'd want to see all of them rotated out, and I'd want to see MLS at left back, Ben White at right back, Mosquera and Hincapié in the middle, because I think this defence is just playing so well at the moment. I don't want to risk injuries in a game like this, and we'll need this defence at Sunderland away, which will inevitably be a very difficult game.
Yeah, we'll come up to that in a minute, but let's have a look at the match stats. So last time out, if we look at this, Arsenal 54%, Burnley 46%, pretty even, and that probably bore out more in the second half, I think, and we'll talk about that. The expected goals, Arsenal 2.42 to Burnley's 0.42, 12 shots on goal for Arsenal, three shots for Burnley. Shots on target for Arsenal, 8. And obviously the big caveat, the big key one here is obviously shots on target for Burnley, 0, because we don't like conceding shots on goal, as we will talk about. Big chances, Arsenal 4, Burnley 1, and then the pass rate, Burnley with 348 passes with an accuracy of 81%, Arsenal 426 with an accuracy of 86. The quarter count, 6 quarters to Arsenal. We scored from 1, obviously, which we'll talk about now, and then 1 for Burnley. Dan, pretty dominant display, wasn't it, first half for Arsenal? It's a game of 2 halves, really, and we'll talk about why that is, but it was a game of 2 halves, literally, for Arsenal, wasn't it? That the first half, we were absolutely dominant. The second half, we clearly dropped our level deliberately. And I say that deliberately because Arsenal don't do that. But what we did do was we kind of went down into first gear, didn't we? Probably realizing, look, we've done our job 2-0. We're defensively solid. Let's shut up shop and get and ensure that we just keep these points, because obviously there was an injury to Victor Gyökeres. I think it was a concussion by the sounds of it, and he was taken off at half time. But Dan, what was your feeling? Do you think it was a game of 2 halves, or was it a case that Burnley just started to improve the second half and we, obviously with the changes, were slightly affected by it?
Maybe a little bit both. I think there probably was a mentality of the job's done. We know, like the players are probably saying, we know we're good enough defensively to not concede to Burnley here. Although I will say that they came very, very close later on, obviously with that free kick that hit the post. I think there's an element of kind of job done with it. But Burnley they're a good footballing team compared to some of the, like I said earlier, the teams that came up last year. They're not just going to kind of roll over and let Arsenal do what they want. It is they're a good team. They can play with the ball. And like I said, I do expect them to give it a good fight to stay up this season. Whether it happens or not, we'll wait and see. But the first half was so dominant, and I just think you really saw the quality of the team. And the second goal was so good in terms of getting from one end of the pitch to another. All the people that have been saying, Arsenal can only score from set pieces and it's boring. Well, watch that goal and tell us that goal was boring, because it was a beautiful kind of counter-attack from one box to another. Declan Rice running from one box and then running to the other box and heading into the back of the net. It was a beautiful goal, and I just think it was kind of job done in the second half. Hopefully Gyökeres is okay. I guess we'll find out more if the game is tomorrow. Then I guess we'll find out more today if there's a press conference.
There's an open training session. I think there's an open training session going on right now, actually. So we'll probably get some notes shortly. Joe, let's talk about some of the incidents. Obviously, the first goal came from a corner. As I think Burnley, because I think like most teams, are starting to get very wary, because when the ball went out, they went, you could tell there's a visible downturn. And obviously we did score from it. Declan Rice, and we will talk about Declan Rice because I thought he had a superb game, but delivering as normal. Gabriel with the header back, and Victor Gyökeres there on the centre spot, which you want your striker to be, in and around that centre point with a beautiful header just at close range. Gets the goal. How did you view this one? And Victor Gyökeres' positioning, because this is where look, again, we've talked about Victor Gyökeres and we'll go into it in a minute, but this is the kind of goal I want from my striker. I don't care if he bangs it in from 30 yards out. My striker should be in the box getting the scraps, shouldn't he?
Yeah, this is what we've not had for a long time, mate. Just a centre forward who will be sort of stuck between the goalposts, and if anything sort of drops in that sort of area, he'll snap it up. And that's exactly what he kind of did for this goal. You already touched on, mate. Declan Rice had an absolutely unbelievable game.
Hold your thing on Declan Rice, because I want to talk about him separately. I want to talk about Victor Gyökeres and things separately. But the goal,
his delivery for that goal was just standard Declan Rice at the moment. He just puts it just on sort of pinpoint near enough every time he takes one. Brilliant delivery. Obviously, Gabriel does what Gabriel does and wins the first ball. Normally sticks it in the back of the net, but this time he thought he'd have an assist instead of a goal. Nods it back across the goal, and there's Victor Gyökeres waiting to just tap it in. So, in terms of sort of the set piece work, if you like. So obviously working a treat, that's probably straight off the training ground, ball into the back post, head it back across, centre forwards there with an empty net just to sort of finish off and finish the bits off. So no, really good goal. Really sort of, we know what you get from Arsenal corners. And the thing is that it's got to a point now where it's almost inevitable that a goal is coming from a corner. And we as fans are feeling that. I think it's safe to say that we all kind of, when we get a corner, we're half expecting something to happen, whether it be a goal, a good chance, something like that. So if we're feeling it, I imagine opposition players, when the Declan Rice is trotting over to that corner, that anticipation's building, and there's probably a bit of nervous energy, I'd imagine, amongst defences now, because they know how good we are at these set pieces. Everyone can see how consistent we are with sort of what we're doing from them. So it wouldn't surprise me if opposition teams are now have got that sort of got it in their minds that when Declan Rice is stood over that ball, there's a bit of nervous energy there because they know what's coming, and ultimately that can cost you. And long may that continue, mate, because we got ahead of the curve in terms of set pieces this year, and we are phenomenal at them. And it's such a big weapon for us because we do have a lot of the ball. We do sort of win a lot of set pieces. So the fact is, we've kind of, it sounds silly, but we found another way to get goals, because we've seen Arsenal before have 10, 15, 20 shots on goal a game. And ultimately, we're going to end up having loads of corners because we're not going to score every time. So to really sort of maximise what we can do, to focus in on corners and now become so dangerous at them, it's a massive weapon in our arsenal heading forwards in this season.
Dan, just let's pull that thread a little bit, because what we're seeing now is teams are actively getting scared when they concede. And it's a hard thing not to concede the corners, is it? Because before how do you stop a corner being conceded? Most teams were accepting of that, a header behind, a deflection, etc. But there is a definite downturn in the attitude from opposition players when they know that they've just conceded a corner, isn't it? It has turned into this almost fear factor of a corner routine from Arsenal, because it's been such a good weapon for us, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that you kind of, not necessarily with corners, but just in general play, when Man City were so dominant over the last kind of 5 years, at the kind of pomp of their powers, when they were the very, very best, there was definitely a mentality thing when you go to teams and when you've got the quality they have. Maybe teams just almost overthink it in terms of how they should defend certain situations and stuff like that. And I feel like it's getting to a point now where maybe teams are overthinking how they should defend set pieces and corners from Arsenal. And I definitely think there's some sort of mentality there. I just think when you employ absolute giants to play in your defence and defensive midfield, you're naturally going to be able to get one over your kind of the opposition anyway. Like Gabriel Saliba, Calafiori, Declan Rice are absolutely huge. Jurrien Timber isn't, Jurrien Timber's still tall, but he's not quite the level. But
Gyökeres is a beast.
Yeah,
physically.
Victor Gyökeres, of course. Yeah. Naturally, you're going to have such a kind of advantage when it comes to it anyway. But I mean, for the first one, we haven't mentioned it, but the little touch from Gabriel for the assist was unbelievable. Like, it's just not something you'd expect from a huge centre half like he is, and that is just a beautiful little bit of skill. It took me about 3 watches on the replay to kind of work out how it had kind of bounced back up for Gyökeres to head in, but yeah, there's just a way at the moment with set pieces that Arsenal are so dominant, and I think that long may it continue. And I don't have an issue if it continues to last the rest of the season, and every single goal scored is from a set piece. Like it's just unbelievable. And I think you've got to credit Nico Jova and Mikel Arteta and the tactics team just for what they're doing. Yeah, it's incredible at the moment.
Yeah, it's been such a weapon. And again, I don't think any Arsenal fan has issues with it. I think most commentators don't either now, because it's a case of they recognise that this is such a tough league. People employing long throws, corner routines, etc. We're just the best at it. That's undeniable now. Joe, the second goal was an open play goal. This is not right. What? my goals should be coming from set pieces, not from open play. We don't do open play goals, but we actually got an open play goal. Talk us through it, and then what you thought of, and then let's start the conversation on Declan Rice, because Declan in this game was unbelievable. It's crazy, his stats from the game. I think he was first in pretty much every stat that a midfielder is involved in. But let's start with the goal and then take us into the conversation about Declan Rice. And then, Dan, I'm going to get your input on it as well.
So, does it count as a set piece goal because it came from a Burnley corner? Can we stretch that out?
Yeah, it's a set piece goal. Yeah, we'll take that. It's a set piece goal.
No, it was brilliant. I mean, the long throw, wasn't it? I think it came from. So the first one came in and Gabriel just ate it up. And then Carl Walker
he was doing that all game. He was doing that all game, wasn't he?
Exactly the same thing again, and just said, "I don't know what we're throwing up on long in for Gabriel," and he just came and ate it up again. It was a fantastic goal, mate. It was the sort of thing we've seen like great Liverpool teams do, sort of in recent history. Obviously, it came out Saka with a nice little flick onto Gyökeres. Gyökeres with a fantastic switch to Trossard on the far side. And then, Trossard, he just continues putting up numbers, doesn't he? With G's and A's, like he's just had a really good start to the season. He's been really productive for us. For all his faults, he puts numbers up in the sort of with goal contributions in the final third. So you can't knock it. He picked out Rice brilliant in the header. I mean, it was a difficult header, to be fair, and he just stuck it away.
He was running onto it. He was running onto it, wasn't he? You know,
he stuck it away like a well-seasoned centre forward. You know what I mean? So it was an absolutely brilliant goal, and it's the sort of thing that I think shows pundits and opposition fans. It says, okay, we can do set pieces, but if you want to give us space, we will tear you to shreds in open play as well. It's not a problem. This Arsenal team are capable of playing always, whether you want to mix it up with us, whether you want to go into a long ball game, whether you want to play football, make it sort of end-to-end basketball style. Whatever it is, we have a team and a squad that is capable of matching an opposition, and 9 times out of 10, I'd say better in an opposition in whatever way they want to play with us. So it was a really, really good goal, and it was just lovely to see because, like I said, you've seen Liverpool do that the last couple of years where they break away with the likes of Salah and obviously Darwin Núñez when he was there and people like that. And to see, it was a very sort of un-Arsenal goal, I think. I mean, the only real time I can remember, I think we broke away. Thomas Partey scored one sort of last year from a breakaway. But other than that, I can't really associate this kind of style of goal with Arsenal over the years. So it's brilliant. And to touch on Declan Rice quickly, because I'm sure we'll go into sort of more depth with him, he was just outstanding. It was the Declan Rice show out there. He was everywhere on that pitch. He was mopping things up defensively. He was everywhere. So whenever Burnley tried to attack us, he got in the way. And whenever we went forward, it seemed like he was kind of on the end of something or making it happen for us when he was on the ball. He was outstanding. And I think Mikel touched on it after the game, said this is what we expect from Declan now. He obviously came to us from West Ham and he was a fantastic sort of screen in front of the back four, but he can do all this other stuff. You've seen what he can do on the ball. You've seen how powerful he is when he runs forward in that kind of number 8 position. And he was outstanding, mate. And I think that's probably his best display of the performance so far, of the season so far, sorry. Like you said, numbers-wise, if you have a look, I think, was it BBC that put his numbers up or Sky, one of them did? And it was ridiculous, the list of things that he's top on. So, yeah, absolutely outstanding. And like we said, Declan Rice, we got him half price.
Dan, so Declan, I said it in previous podcasts, Declan is not a 6 anymore. He's not a box crusher. He, to me, is a central midfielder, the complete central midfielder. And I think on Sky as well, they said they've called him the complete central midfielder now because you look at it, as Joe said, he's been mopping up defensively, which we all know he can do. He's a defensive screen. Going forward, he eats up the grass like no end. We saw that in some of the runs. He covered the most carries. Assist, goal in this game. This season, I think he's gone up a level. And I think, and my take on it is Martin Zubimendi is part of that reason. Because Martin Zubimendi is such a good player and such a good 6. He's a true 6 in that he's that modern day deep lying 6, which can pass and spray the ball, but is still good in the tackle. But I think that's allowed Declan to say, look, I don't need to be there every breakaway that's on against us. I can have the reassurance that Martin's going to be there, and I can, do my job and still tackle, but I don't need to bust a gut to get back. So I'm not expending every bit of my energy. I just think that combination potentially could be one of the greatest partnerships in the Premier League, because you've got a silky smooth player, Martin Zubimendi, who's so cerebral and thinks, a different level to most people. Technique, outstanding. Declan Rice, who reminds me kind of almost like a Gerrard type with just defensive abilities where he can do everything. What do you make of, as Joe said, Declan Rice in this game, but also as well, lead us into the conversation about those two as a partnership, because I think it's, at the moment, I can't think of a better one in the league.
Yeah, no, I agree. In the game, Declan Rice was so good. I think this season, like you said, he's been so good in terms of just the overall quality that he provides. And there's not many 100 million plus players that you look at that have gone for that kind of money and been a hit the level that Declan Rice has been at Arsenal. And I was always confident he was going to be a great signing, but I think he's just been so good. And I do truly believe that he can go through his time at Arsenal and come out the other end as a club legend. The levels that he is providing, and I think him and Zubimendi are so good together as well, in terms of, like you kind of said, Zubimendi sitting that bit deeper. And what Rice does so well is we've seen how clutch he can be in terms of making tackles from deep, stopping goals. My mind instantly goes to Manchester United away, was it a year or two ago, when they're through on goal and he makes that tackle out of nowhere that just everyone kind of is on their feet, like applauding, like going, wow, where the hell did he come from? And he can do that side of things, but then also his ball striking and ability to shoot is another level as well. And clearly he's now kind of that, like he did in the Burnley game, his ability to crash the box late on. And I mean, what is it? They call him the horse, don't they? Just because of how much he runs, his ability to get up and down the pitch, and he's got some engine on him. He's so good. And I think his fitness is another huge plus as well, and ability to stay fit has been massive for Arsenal as well. He's so consistent in the team. His levels are always like an 8 out of 10. I can't think of a game where he's been unbelievably poor or just not been at the levels. He's always at the levels, and I think he will definitely go down as one of the best. Not many people go look at, £100 million, a good value for money signing, but genuinely, the quality that he has brought to Arsenal since coming has been worth every single penny of whatever Arsenal paid for him. And yeah, he's still young as well, in his mid to late 20s. I think he's gonna, when his time at Arsenal is done, I do hope he will be considered a club legend and hopefully have a load of silverware as well to show for his time here.
Yeah, I think we're seeing just this kind of evolution, and hopefully at least a Premier League title, because he deserves it. This is the one, you can tell this is the one he wants, because he's busting a gut in every game pretty much. Joe, the other player I want to discuss is Victor Gyökeres, who I thought had an outstanding game, this one. Not just the goal, but his overall play. He looked sharper, fitter, more about it. He'd had a week, a rest finally, because obviously he didn't play in the Carabao Cup in the week. But I just thought he looked so good. His layoff work, his pressing, everything. How did you view Victor Gyökeres' game, Joe?
Yeah, he was outstanding, mate, wasn't he? Again, maybe his best performance in an Arsenal shirt so far. Obviously laid on a few chances for others. I think he probably maybe created 3 or 4 chances in that first half for others. Took his goal well, was where we wanted him. Battled well. We know what we get with Gyökeres when he's up against these defenders. He runs hard, he chases, he harries, he's really physical with everyone. But I think in this game you saw that married up with, on the ball he was solid. He held it up well. He sort of linked up well with players around him, as a Trossard, Saka. It was a really, really good performance from him, and it was just gutting that he went off at half time, because I think the way he was playing, I fancied him to get 1, maybe 2 more in that second half, because I thought he was looking really lively. Stretching defences, obviously opening up space for players like Eze, Trossard and Saka in that kind of final third. I think his runs also aided Declan Rice's performance because it allowed Declan space to run into, which obviously we spoke about Declan Rice and how good he was. So, yeah, like we've said before with him, mate, the people have been very critical of him for not getting the goals. But I think if you look beyond that, just his performance and how it affects the team, I think it was you saw it perfectly encapsulated in this game. How good we were in the first half compared to what we did in the second half. Admittedly, we were 2-0 up and we probably took our foot off the gas with obviously games coming up. But I think you saw the difference in our whole team structure and performance in that second half, and just how important it is to have him up top and to sort of have the qualities that he provides us. Because that sort of second half, we didn't really do anything, did we? I mean, I can't really think of any incident in the second half that's worth talking about, to be perfectly honest with you. And the first half was, like we said, one of the best performances we've seen this season so far. So that sums him up. And I think that's probably the biggest compliment you can pay him, is that how much the drop-off was in the second half when he wasn't there.
Yeah, Dan, let's just touch upon that subject that Joe mentioned, the drop-off from, look, we all know Mikel Merino is not a striker. He played there last season, but he's not there. But obviously the drop-off was very clear when Victor Gyökeres went off and Merino was put up front. And we're not trying to disrespect Merino. He's a good player and he does a fine job when he does play. But Victor Gyökeres, there was a clear difference in levels. Whether that level is still there when Kai Havertz is back is a different question, because I think Kai Havertz is closer to Gyökeres. They're just very different players. But that second half, the front play was not there, was it? In terms of the hassle, the harrying, the insane press that he offers, and just his general physicalness. Because Marino's not that player, but it did tell in terms of how Arsenal was set up in that second half, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder as well if Mikel Merino's maybe had a chat with the team. And this is purely me speculating. I do wonder if he's had a chat with Arteta this season and kind of gone, where do you see me long term? Midfield is where I want to play. And maybe they are kind of shifting focus now. Gyökeres has come in for him to have more of an impact on games from midfield. Obviously, he did a huge job last season when he came in and affected games and scored the way he did when there were those injuries to the strikers. But I do wonder if, just for him in particular, obviously he seems very happy to play in the two positions, but if he's now maybe focusing more on how he can affect games from midfield, does that maybe impact how much of a kind of focus and how much work they've been putting into him in those kind of striker roles, now that there is much more kind of, you've got Gyökeres, you've got Havertz coming back in the striker kind of roles. So, I think the levels did drop off, and Merino is not what Gyökeres is and what he has been giving, especially when he's played as well as he did in the first half. It was probably even more noticeable because of that and how well he was playing. But I'm not particularly concerned. Although we could see Merino up front maybe on tomorrow night in the Champions League. Maybe I don't think he'll put Trossard there now. He probably would put Merino there. But it wasn't the same, and I do think Gyökeres has been kind of steadily improving. The Crystal Palace game, I didn't think he played amazing, but then there has been a few more games recently where you've looked at him and gone, that's a lot more encouraging in terms of the performance. And Gyökeres in particular, that first half, the pass he made for the second goal was, I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he meant it, but it was a great pass across the field to Trossard before he made that pass to Rice. But I think we're definitely seeing improvements in Gyökeres compared to what we saw at the start of the season, and long may it continue. And I hope that it pushes him even more when Havertz does come back, and they are kind of both competing for that position. And I hope it brings out the best in both of them, and as a team, Arsenal benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm really looking forward to when Kai Havertz returns, because I just think as a rotation option, both together, there's a lot to like about when Havertz returns. Let's move on to the Premier League table. This is courtesy of the PremierLeague.com. Arsenal are on top of the league. We continue our great form. If you look to the right hand side, I apologise if you can't see this properly. again, my screen resolution is quite high, but it's all green on the form table because it's all wins for the Arsenal. Next up, we go to Sunderland next Saturday, isn't it? Are we a Saturday 3:00 or are we a Saturday 5:30? What time are we on next weekend?
I think it's the late one, Saturday to 5:30.
5:30, yeah, 5:30.
Ooh, tasty, tasty, tasty. So that's
tough
going to
game.
be
It'll be a tough game.
It's going to be a very tough game. We're going to we'll preview that in our preview show end of the week. But our rivals, so Manchester City are now in second place, having made light work actually of what was second place Bournemouth yesterday. My God, Erling Haaland. I just watched him yesterday as he ran through. It's not even physically, like from zero, it goes almost like 0 to 100 straight away. It's crazy how he is, Dan. I mean, I was just watching it and I was going, what the?
What's he got?
It's David Brooks said
13 goals in 10 games now.
It's mental.
I'm sure it's something
for
like,
me,
something
Haaland. For me, it's between Haaland and Kane for the best players in the world right now, and I'd probably give it to Haaland. I think he's unbelievable.
The league he's doing it in. No disrespect to Germany, but Germany's not the same level as the Premier League.
And to be fair, his YouTube content's quite good as well.
Did you see his what was his he was the Joker, wasn't he, on Halloween? He was quite scary how he looked. It's crazy how on it he is. But the thing is as well, Man City are playing through. Their focal point is him. They're not looking at their Doku barely gets into the box. It's like drop him off and just try and pass it to Haaland. It's like the old school days. When you used to play at school, you're like, give it to the best player on the pitch and let him just have a go, Joe.
It's what we said,
it's crazy
when we kind of relied on Thierry Henry for that sort of that spell. Like he was just so much better than everyone else that you knew, even if Arsenal didn't play well, if he was on the pitch, we could end up winning 3-0. You'd need a sort of 10, 15-minute spell, and you could just blow them away with that one player. And I think that's kind of, if you like, the Man City model that we're seeing at the moment is that, they might not be playing their best football and they might not be the Man City that we've kind of been accustomed to seeing over the last few years. But as long as you've got Erling Haaland up front, you're in a game and he can win games single-handedly. And we've seen that a couple of times so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Man City are a very interesting team in terms of they're not the Man City team of old, as you said, but they still have something about them that it was quite a chaotic game yesterday. I will say I don't think they're as tight as what they were, because I still think Bournemouth had chances and they did score, obviously. But Liverpool are now up to third, having beaten Aston Villa, a very poor Aston Villa as well, I'd say, Dan, on at Anfield. What do you make of that game? I think Liverpool got away with it almost, in terms of Villa were not that great on the day, were they at all? They couldn't pass the ball for anything. Watkins, I don't know what's happened to Watkins, but he doesn't look the same player anymore. He lacks that explosiveness to go in behind it. I just think he's struggling quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I think a good decision that. Well, I mean, I guess time will tell, but a good decision also didn't sign him.
60 million for 60 million.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
Have that.
No, I agree. I do rate him still, though. I do think he's a good player. But yeah, he's not been the levels this season. Obviously, those Liverpool players got arrested midweek, didn't they? After pretty much all of them didn't play in the cup, but in the Carabao Cup. But yeah, I think it was a good win for Liverpool. I think they look refreshed and much more assists, and they probably will end up turning a corner now. And I've always said, this title race for me is a 3-horse race. People were writing Man City off at the start of the season, but for me, I look at that team and you think Rodri's coming back into it. It's Pep Guardiola, it's Man City. They've had a chance to reset and kind of go again. They're not going to have another season like they did last. And Liverpool, the players they've signed, it would be irresponsible to not consider them as a challenger for the title. And I'm not just saying that based off the fact they signed, spent money and just saying they should do well because they spent money. I do rate the players they've signed, and I just think it is a case of getting the team right and certain players getting into form and making sure that they've got the right players there. I think Ekitike, I don't know why they took him out personally. I think he's probably the better striker to play at the moment. It sounds crazy because they spent 100 million on Isak and or whatever it was, stupid money, wasn't it? I think it will just be a matter of time before they do get back on the kind of the train again. And a lot of people have been saying to me, "Oh, it's now Arsenal's title to lose, etc., etc." We've literally just got into November. It's a long season, and so much can happen in a season. And yeah, for me, it's those three teams: Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. One of those three will win the title, and I do believe it's going to be, a race between those three. And yeah, at the moment, Arsenal are doing well, but we'll wait and see. It's a long season.
And then obviously I'll let you take the beat on Birmingham, on Bournemouth, because obviously they're one of the teams that you focus on. But yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment yesterday with them against Man City, wasn't it? They play this high line, and the high line, unfortunately, against Erling Haaland, if you're not at it like Saliba and Gabriel, and even then they got breached this season by Haaland, it is nigh on impossible, isn't it? And I thought Senesi actually had a pretty poor game overall. I thought he got caught out quite a lot. It was it was a step too far, wasn't it, to expect them to beat City at the Etihad. I think they haven't won there at all, have they, in their history? So
no, I don't think they have. No, yeah, no, I agree. I think Bournemouth are having an unbelievable season. They had a really, really good season last season, and they just missed out on Europe. And the team they've got, I think fans were a little bit disappointed, but they've got a very wealthy owner in Bill Foley, who's pumping a lot of money into the club. They've just had their training ground done up. They used to train like right by the stadium, but now they've got a huge state-of-the-art training ground. They're doing works to the stadium to expand that, and the investment into the playing squad has been huge as well. And I think they generally recruit really well. You look at, Ilya Zabani, Dean Howson, players, Milos Kerkez, players they sold for tens of millions last year, well over 100 million for all three of them. And Senesi was never quite the guy. I think they've recruited well though, in terms of Diakite looks good, the other centre back they signed. And Trufe as well at left back, he's been fairly solid. But again, they've had some more injuries as well though. Evan Nilsson not playing, Eli Krupi Jr., who's been playing up front for them. I think Bournemouth are a solid side. They'll have a good season, but away at the Etihad against Man City, it's always going to be a tough ask. And it was a fairly entertaining game, but Man City ultimately just kind of came through the way they do come through these games. And I think they look really good right at the moment. Man City do, and I do think they will probably end up kicking on.
Yeah, I think so. Joe, we do have to talk about it. Tottenham, obviously doing what Tottenham do. They lost. It was 1-0, wasn't it? It was 1-0 eventually. Was it 1-0?
Yeah, 1-0.
1-0 to Chelsea. 1-0 to Chelsea. Oh dear. Dissension starting to happen in the Tottenham ranks. It sounds like Thomas Frank has got some elements of the squad that need to be addressed, because obviously at the end of the game, Jed Spence, Mickey van der Ven, he went on the pitch just to try and have a chat with them, shake their hand, and they walked straight past him down the tunnel. I get that Tottenham are trying to be ambitious. Van der Ven and Spence, etc., are trying to show that the loss matters. But I think this is quite dissentful, isn't it, Joe? In terms of just being.
I appreciate on this podcast, Jen, we want to address talking points, but I could not care less about Tottenham. So for me, I just think that this is. You've just lost the London derby. Obviously, the rivalry between Chelsea and Tottenham is quite a big one. Tottenham were woeful in the game. They were just absolutely shocking. I think, I'm sure I said Jamie O'Hara, he came out and said he's shocking. And I think Jamie Redknapp said it's the worst he's ever seen Spurs play. So, yeah, it was a terrible day for them. So, I mean, players walking off the pitch disappointed. I'm not sure whether it's particularly an issue with Thomas Frank, or whether we're all just reading too much into it like we do with these things, or whether it's just players just wanting to get off the pitch because they're fed up. It's human nature. You just think, I'm sick of this. We've done nothing all game. We've lost the derby. Fans are booing us. I'll just get me out of here. And it might just be that, but yeah, let's not put too much stock in Tottenham because they're a joke of a club.
We don't put stock. Look, we never put stock in Tottenham because Spursiness always comes in, regardless of what team, what manager comes in. It is the way of the Spurs. But the other team to touch on, just briefly, because there's a haircut in play here, is Man United, who looked on course to get the number 4 to help that guy who has got the biggest barnet I have seen in a long time. But Dan, Big Sean Dyche, Andy Woke Football came up with the goods to ensure the counter goes back 2-0 again, doesn't it?
I would say I feel for him, but I mean, it was his idea, so he knew what he was signing himself up for.
5 games in a row is asking a lot of
he should have just made it 3, but I saw someone say that if it was 3, it still would have taken like a similar amount of time because of how bad Man United had been. But I mean, I didn't watch the game, and to be honest, the first thing I thought as soon as I saw the result was the same thing: the guy's having to go back to 0 in terms of getting his hair cut. But
isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that we're not talking about the team essentially? We're talking about a dude whose hair is like the size of of London.
Seeing as we are sort of, this is kind of taking over our podcast at the moment. This gentleman, his hair. His name is Frank Illett. So we've got to refer to him as his name from now on. We've got to just say, we've got to have a special podcast.
That's United dude. United dude with the big hair.
Listen, I want a slide next time we're on Frank's hair, and then we'll keep rolling with it. Give the people the updates they need.
The updates will be that his hair is continuing to grow. I don't know if it can grow any more up, or if the weight of it will cause some problem, because it's got to go back at some point. The weight will literally carry it back, won't it, at some point?
Yeah, he's got to tie it up or something like that.
Yeah, why is he not tying it up? I would have thought that, or is it just that look? Because
I think he's trying to make it the most of it. Like obviously trying to make the most of the situation, but like I think he's also like, obviously it's got very big now. But at one point he was putting like volume increaser into his hair to make it look worse than it was. But now it genuinely just is like massive. So
He got a Paddy Power advert out of it, so he's already made bank, hasn't he? But yeah,
you know what? Before we wrap up the Premier League stuff, just shout out Danny Welbeck, because he is having a phenomenal season.
Oh yeah, he continues to.
He's just slapping goals in. So
he continues to just defy.
Been given Haaland loads of praise, but shout out Welbs as well, because he's having a cracking season. I'm delighted for him as well.
And also
service he gave us.
Let's touch upon 2 more results that affect the bottom of the table. West Ham beating Newcastle yesterday, 3-1. A very, very well-deserved victory, actually. I thought Newcastle were pretty insipid, actually. I wonder, Dan, is the 3-game-a-week schedule affecting Newcastle like it did in the last time they went to the Champions League? Because I think the squad is a very good squad, but it's not big enough to cope with the demands, because as we've seen, Newcastle play a very physically demanding style, and when it, obviously you win games, but it does take a lot out of them, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that result was the one that shocked me from the weekend because of how bad West Ham have been. Where did that result come from? So, especially Newcastle and the quality they have, you expected them to go there and beat West Ham quite comfortably. But they got a win. It really. I wouldn't say I feel for them, but it's really not a good situation at the London Stadium at the moment. You can tell the fans don't like, a lot of the fans don't like where they are, the stadium. Nothing you can do about that. They don't like the ownership. They don't like a lot about the team. They've got the whole Lucas Paqueta situation going on with his, is he going to get a ban? Is he not? What's going on with him? I think, I think it's a really tough situation there at the moment for them. So for them to get that win was huge. That was the kind of result that surprised me this weekend.
Yeah, and then the last one, because there's news this morning, is Wolves, rooted to the bottom of the table, winless. Vita Pereira was sacked. And then this morning, the news is around two managers. Gary O'Neill, who was sacked when Vita Pereira came in, and the second surprise name, which you're all going to love, Eric Ten Hag is now linked to Wolves. This
Wow.
can't get any better, please.
The Gary O'Neill one's a funny one, isn't it? Like the way that he was sacked as well. If you went back there, that would be a real surprise. And also, seeing as I'm on the podcast, it's another similar kind of link to the way that obviously Will Steele's just been sacked by Southampton.
Yeah.
And the current odds-on favourite to go back to Southampton to be the new manager is Russell Martin. So reappointing old managers is seemingly the trend at the moment.
Do you think Gary O'Neill would go back, Dan, because he's not been kind of like offered a job elsewhere? So he sees this as kind of like his route back in, if you like, because he's not been. No other clubs have really approached him, have they?
No, I think you would, to be honest. I think I don't think, especially in his position, I don't think you turn down a Premier League job. I don't speak for him, but I don't think in the position he's in and a kind of lack of action he's had since, I don't think you turn down a Premier League job. I find interesting is Steve Cooper's not had a job back in England since leaving the Nottingham Forest role, and I believe he's coaching in Belgium. If not Belgium, then forgive me, it's somewhere in Europe. But he's not coaching at a very, very high level, and I do think he's a solid manager and could do a decent job at a high-level Championship, low-level Premier League side still.
Do you think, Dan? This is this kind of tendency to play this whole, or we need a fashionable coach from Europe who plays expansive, etc. There seems to be this kind of lack of look at the actual CV, not look at the playing style, etc. This tendency to who's the latest fad manager, etc.
Yeah. I think you definitely see more of a pattern now as well in terms of getting young managers in. You saw it with Arteta. One I find really interesting is Jack Wilshere going to Luton Town. I think that would be a really interesting appointment in terms of how he can get on there. And I wish Jack all the best at Luton. The way he obviously retired from the game at the age he did was really sad. So I hope he makes it as a coach and can have some amazing moments. But yeah, there's definitely a trend in terms of I don't know, in terms of bringing in some names from like Europe. You're definitely seeing more younger managers kind of come into the frame now with clubs. I guess it's maybe because the players can relate to them a little bit more, just based off rather than an older person that's been a coach for so many years, maybe not having that same kind of relatable feeling with them. But yeah, it's an interesting time for sure.
It's an interesting one, and we'll see who gets appointed. If it's Erik ten Hag, I'm honestly going to have a laugh because you can't write this stuff. I mean, the guy was so bad, he got sacked from Bayer Leverkusen, 4 games in?
Yeah.
Not even, did he start the season actually? I don't think he started the season, did he, with them?
It was comical, I think is a way to describe it, yeah.
I think that was how he viewed his Man United tenure as well, but
yeah.
There we go. We'll leave the Premier League for now, and we are going to turn our attention to our next game. So if you're watching on YouTube, watching the video, you will see our next opponent in the Champions League is Slavia Prague. Now, we are all big Slavia Prague experts. Let's not understate this. We have so much working knowledge of Slavia Prague that we had a working session just before this to discuss our knowledge of Slavia Prague. So all three of us are experts here, and we are so ready for this, aren't we, Dad? You've been going into depth about the Slavia Prague too. We know
Massively.
everything. Joe, you're ready as well, aren't you? You're ready, Joe, with your Slavia Prague knowledge.
Yes,
he's looking on Google right now.
They play football in another country, and that's about all I can offer.
Well, they're coming into this game off the back of a win. I'll give you that much.
Yeah. So, just quickly, this obviously is an away game in the Czech Republic. Not necessarily an easy place to go to, but Central Europe and Slavia Prague haven't really done that well in the 3 games they've started. So they played Bodo Glimt in the first game, drew 2-2. Inter they lost 3-0 and 0-0 at Atalanta in the last game. Joe, this should be one of those games where we should be able to rotate and still get the results. What do you think in that sense? This should be, I wouldn't say a banker, but if you look at it in terms of the Champions League, you look at that and go, I like that. That should be one of the easier games in the run. And I'm not trying to disrespect Slavia Prague in the slightest.
I think the only reason it's not a home or a banker, if you like, is because we are away. I think if this was at the Emirates, we'd say home banker. So the The only thing that makes this not that is the fact that we have to travel for this game. Not knowing anything about them, you can imagine that it'll be a hostile atmosphere there. I imagine they'll have sort of a really good sort of strong fan base. Arsenal coming to town, it'll be a sort of a big event for them, so it'll be a hostile atmosphere. The crowd will be really up for it. But regardless of that, we should still have more than enough in the tank to go there and do a very professional job. Like I said at the top, I'd be more than happy to see Kepa starting in goal in this. I'd be more than happy to see the back four totally rotated and go with the Brighton defence we went with. I think given the Zubimendi injury, not knowing what that is, I think Declan Rice has to start the game.
Well, it's suspension, so he's suspended anyway for the game tomorrow. And apparently, so a couple of bits of news for you just to mull on while we had this. So the open training session is going on at the moment, and a couple of notable absentees. Kepa is out, so he didn't train. Victor Gyökeres did not train either. Martin Zubimendi did train, but obviously he's suspended tomorrow. So there are some aspects for you to mull on, Joe, as you talk about.
So like I said,
sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine, mate. Given that Zubimendi is suspended anyway, I think Declan Rice has to start. Do you put Norgard in there? Do you put Marino in
Who
there?
Who does partner with?
Either or, I think, mate. I'm not particularly. I don't think this is a game where we have to.
Do you think he'll start Marino and do you think he'll start Marino and Norgard, or you think Rice has to start for it? Because
for me, I think because it's a Champions League game, mate. I think we just, of course, you rotate, but for me, I still want to see kind of the big boys out there, to get the job done. I mean, if we can have Rice on for an hour, if the likes of Saka plays, Eze, people like that, I want to see them play, but I want to see them get the job done and then get off about the hour mark, and then we can rotate from there. What you don't want is to kind of underestimate Slavia, rotate it completely, and then we're going into sort of, we hit the hour mark, and then in the last half hour, you need to bring these players on who have then got to go all out to get us the win. I think it makes sense just to start them. They'll deal with that atmosphere better because obviously they'll have more experience of playing in it. You go out there, similar to what we did at Burnley, mate. Go out there, have a really strong first half, put ourselves a couple of goals up, and in the second half, we can hopefully begin to think about the Sunderland game. It'll be interesting to see what he does in that centre-forward position. I think he'll probably, like Dan touched on earlier, I think he'll probably be Marino he goes for. So given that, I think you'd probably go with Saka and... is Martinelli, is he back or is he still out? Because I was thinking...
no, he's injured. He's still injured. So I think Trossard will have to start.
Yeah, so it'll probably be Trossard, Eze and Saka. So that's the team that started in the league, and we don't want to run them into the ground. So if we can get the game on and get them off, happy days.
Well, Dan, I've just been thinking about this. So Ethan Nwaneri, I think in the last couple of games actually looked quite decent in terms of when he's come on or when he started, he's actually looked pretty good. Do you think there's a case for him to start this one in place of Eze? Eze's played quite a lot of minutes recently, full 90s. And I think he just needs a little rest just to get ready for the Sunderland game, because, again, that's a very important game. But Ethan Nwaneri's done pretty well, actually. I think this kind of game may suit him to actually just inject something different into this game. What's your thinking ahead of Slavia Prague in terms of changes that will happen?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Ethan Nwaneri would definitely make would be a good choice for this game. Whether Arteta actually does it or not is another question.
Why not? Why wouldn't he do it? Why would he not do it? Is there a case for it? Because you have to put them in at some point to give them the taste of the atmosphere. He's old enough. He's had a year of it. He's played in the Champions League already. It's not
definitely.
It's Girona, isn't it?
I don't know is the answer, because I think he's been a little bit unlucky in terms of the minutes he has got this season. I think Ethan probably could have got a bit more game time than he has done this season. But I really rate Ethan. I think he's a really good player, and I would like to see him rotated in this kind of central role a little bit more with Odegaard out, and definitely for this game, like you say, with Eze, the amount of games he's played recently, I'd love to see Ethan given a chance for a game like this in there. I think he could do a really good job. I don't know. It's a really interesting situation, and I do want to touch on it a little bit as well, because I think Arsenal have got a really good draw in the Champions League this year. The clubs are all the away trips in particular, none of them are, far and wide across Europe. You've got Inter Milan, obviously this one to Slavia Prague, and then one other Club Bruges, isn't it, in Belgium? So
Bruges, yeah.
So they're all fairly kind of close, not having to travel too much.
Yeah.
I think they're good. They're good kind of draws to get. So yeah, I'd like to see them given a chance. And this game is away Champions League games. You can never, like Joe kind of said, they're never really bankers. They're just because of how hostile an atmosphere you're stepping into. You don't know what the kind of team and the football is going to be like. You wait and see. But yeah, I'd be confident. I'd like to see a few more kind of changes in and around the back line again, like we kind of touched on earlier. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I think I'd like to see him come in. I don't know about Hincapié and Mosquera, but definitely at least Mosquera and Gabriel, maybe something like that. I feel like Hincapié and Mosquera are still not completely proven together as a partnership. We've only seen it for the one game, so who knows? Arteta might believe this is the game to try it again. But yeah, Ben White, I'd like to see him come in. I think there's definitely some decent rotation you can make for a game like this, and still come away with a win and a result.
Yeah, I think we do have to rotate. The Sunderland game is a big one. Obviously, Sunderland play tonight, so it diminishes the kind of freshness of Sunderland as much as us, because obviously we're playing Champions League, but we will have that hangover if we play the full squad. But Arteta is known to push quite hard for the Champions League, and obviously this does represent 3 points, because if you look at the other games, as you said, Dan, Inter Milan last year, we went there and lost, although it was at a time where we were injury plagued. So I'm keen to see how we do, especially given the returnees that are coming in. But they are a very good side, Inter Milan still. And then you've obviously got Club Bruges, which should beat them, and Cairo Almaty. Then we've got the Bayern Munich game. So that's you've got two big ones sandwiched in there. But you'd still think we need to get those points in the bank, because it's been shown, if you take them lightly, any team in the Champions League can cause you an upset, and we do not want that tomorrow. So be very interested to see how we get along. I still think we'll have enough for a win. Guys, let's get your prediction. So, Joe, what do you think? Slavia Prague versus Arsenal.
I'm going for the standard Arsenal scoreline, which I've done for a few weeks on the bounce now, which is 2-0 to the Arsenal.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And Dad, you?
I'm going to say 3-0, just to be different.
Ooh, okay, interesting.
To Arsenal.
And yeah, 2-1.
Oh, I'm not saying no. You're just assuming here. That's a gross miscalculation. I'm going 2-0 actually, because I think we won't concede. I still can't see us conceding against Slavia either. I don't think there's like a deep attacking pool there that you'd say, wow, I'm gonna. It depends who starts actually, because again, against Brighton, I thought they should have scored. Brighton should have scored. We rode our luck quite a bit, but I still like Hincapié. I think Hincapié is such a good buy for us. I think he's going to be an excellent player. Mosquera has been class already. I think having a new look back four is slightly concerning, but you do need to give them minutes, because where are they going to get those minutes otherwise?
The thing is as well, mate, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'd argue that Brighton would be a far more potent attack than Slavia Prague. So I feel like if we're willing to play that defence against Brighton, in my mind, obviously we don't know much about Slavia Prague, but I feel like Slavia Prague would pose less issues than a Brighton. So I don't see why we can't do it. And to be honest, I think I'd like to see that.
It's just that it's away, isn't it? It's away in the Czech Republic. That's my only concern, that it's going to be a hostile. Czech football is hostile anyway. I don't know if you've ever seen a game there, but I have. It is hostile, is an understatement. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think we still can do well. I'm looking forward to it, although it's a 5:45 kickoff. People, UEFA have no clue on scheduling for mass audiences, but we look forward to the game. Hopefully get a win, and then obviously we will. I know. But we look forward to it. We look forward then, obviously, to Sunderland, which is going to be an interesting game. But we'll cover that off in our post-match review of the Prague game, preview game for Sunderland. But gents, thank you so much as always. Dan, thank you very much for joining us such short notice and providing us with your excellent commentary as per normal. If you do want to catch Dan George, he is available on Twitter, on the BBC. Dan, What are you up to at the moment? Do you want to just give people just a bit of an idea what you're up to at the moment, where they can find you?
Yeah. I cover teams across the EFL down in the south of England, so Southampton, Bournemouth, Portsmouth, Oxford, and Reading are the clubs I cover. I've got a bit of content coming from Reading this week. I'm going up there for their game against Stevenage. They've just changed managers, so if you like EFL stuff on the South Coast, then feel free to follow me. I do tweet about Arsenal as well. So, nothing major coming up apart from obviously looking forward to the North London derby, which we will both be going to. The 23rd of this month. So looking forward to that.
Can't wait. It's going to be we're all going to it. Everyone's going to North London derby.
Of course.
So, but thank you very much, Dan, for joining us. Appreciate it. If you do like our content, please do consider subscribing to us on YouTube, on the audio platforms, everywhere you listen. We're going to try and keep the content fresh. We've got great guests like Dan joining us whenever we can. But for now, thank you very much. We'll catch you on the next one of Red Lines Half Spaces. Bye for now.